Okay, so here's the Kramer rat rod project done. I know a lot of you are probably thinking seems like a bit of trouble to make your guitar uglier, but keep in mind it was just a cheap Kramer pacer to start with. Though the paint job looked really nice with those stripes on it, they weren't real stripes, they were just tape. So no big deal. The thing is, it's sort of nostalgic because back in the 80s, when I started playing a lot of heavy guitar, shredding, we couldn't try a Floyd Rose. The only place you could try a Floyd Rose was on a Kramer pacer. And I mean, compared to what we had, I mean, it's hard to relate to now, but compared to what we had then, this thing was just unbelievable. Like, you know, I mean, something like that was completely unheard of. You know, 80, 79, 80, 81, that kind of sound, that kind of playing was completely unheard of. Guitar would go out of tune with the slightest provocation. You know, and as an early player, you're still learning to tune well, and the electric guitar is sort of a little off. You have to, you know, I tune the B out a little, like depending on how you play, you have to kind of tune the guitar to the way you play to kind of intonate it properly. Anyway, and you know, all I had was a cheap Strat copy like most people, but my buddy had an actual Kramer pacer with a Floyd Rose on it, and I remember trying it for the first time and just being like, whoa. I mean, the neck was wide and flat. There was no finish on the neck. There's no clear coat. It's just oiled, and it was soft and quick, and the whammy, and it was just mind-blowing. So the thing is, those were really expensive guitars. We were always fascinated that Eddie was just happy to like beat up guitars, like just tear them apart, put them back together, and they were just like, they always looked really, really sort of road worn. Hence the want to go for the rat rod thing. And I needed to make some changes anyway because it needed a lot of fret work. The frets were really bashed up here bad, so it needed a lot of fret work. And I can't stand having finish on the neck, which this one came with clear coat on it. So I sanded that all off and oiled it with this oil here. I just like the feel of it. Kind of makes it feel soft, like you can actually squeeze the neck. You know, even though it's just an illusion in your brain, it just has the right feel for playing both rhythm and lead. I kept the original pickup, which is going to make the sound test very interesting because, you know, if I changed the pickup, you couldn't really say whether or not the other things I did to rat rod it made any difference because, you know, changing the pickup would have made a huge difference. Plus, I kind of liked the sound of this pickup. It's just a cheap Duncan design. I don't even know what it is. It's just the one that came in it. So I screwed it down into the wood, took the rings off, and screwed it down into the wood. I thought it sounded better immediately screwed into the wood. Could just be me though. But it has a sort of a slightly more crispy version of a Seymour Duncan JB. It has that kind of sound. And this is a Seymour Duncan humbucker, but it's a stack. It's a little 59, individually adjusted pole pieces. And the way I have it wired, so of course I've tilted it back. You know, it's a rare thing to do, I guess, because it's kind of ugly, but I always wanted to do it because I never got a good front pickup sound from single coil or humbucker. Always sounded muddy, especially with chords. But I love the sound of the higher strings, so I always wanted to tilt a pickup. And this is just what I had, so I threw it in there. And strangely enough, so if you're kind of a Van Halenite, what ended up being interesting about this project, because I didn't make a lot of major upgrades. Like I upgraded the saddles like I always do to the stainless steel ones, and I'll leave a link like I did with the review of my upgrades to the Wolfgang Standard. This stainless steel saddle bridge upgrade for cheap, fairly cheap. You know, this is not, most of these guitars come with not a top of the line Floyd Rose, and this upgrade makes a huge difference to me. I mean, the string contact, it's not potted steel like the cheap Floyds, like the Floyd Specials and most of the cheaper Floyds, like the non-top end ones, are really good except the saddles. The saddles are just this pot steel. That's where they save the money. And it's crap, especially if it's painted. It's just bad string contact. Anyway, so other than this upgrade, the big interesting thing I was gonna say is my favorite sound on this guitar now is both these pickups. Both these pickups on at the same time. I do like the sound of just the back one. But I really like the I don't know, it's just ratty. It has a kind of has a rattier sound to it. I really like, and I can kind of control it, dial it in with a little bit of tone. And I mean, back in the day, it was only one pickup, no tone. So this thing sort of, I think maybe by accident, because I'm not really good with wiring, but it sounds great to me with both pickups going, and the rear and just the front. So the only other upgrade I did was a typical one where I add in a bigger brass block. This is the L-shaped one off of Amazon, not expensive, you know, under $100 for sure, and a trem stop. I put in this trem stop, which is supposed to help it go in both directions, just because it's a lot of brass. It's a nice chunky lot of brass to make really good contact between the block, the strings, and the body itself. I don't really use the fact that it can go up. I mean, I guess if you really like you can probably do some of the Steve Vai stuff, but I have it set really, really tight so it doesn't really move. It just sort of acts as a true trem stop, so you can use a detuna. Not a huge fan of floating tremolos, but other than that, I mean, no other major upgrades. The biggest pain with this thing was the the slider. I really like this particular Kramer slider, just like the Kramer Ad guitar, you know, the big chunky one, and they're a pain to put on there, right? I destroyed a bunch of them. The stars, which no big deal, but those are actually the stars from the 5150 kit. But I wanted to go with 1984 because that was the big year. That was the first year that I saw Van Halen live in Montreal. What a tour. Unbelievable. I'll put a clip of the very beginning of it in this video. Anyway, so you listen to the sound test and just let me know if you think it sounds better, worse, the same. You know, I'd like to hear thoughts. That's about it. So let's just play it out.